We are going to move on here to the NFL, and we are going to talk about the game last night because it wasn't a heavyweight fight. It was a beatdown. Now, the question that we have right now, can the Lions challenge the 49ers and Eagles in the NFC? And Cuzzo, if you want to kick us off again, the mic is yours.
Absolutely not. What are we really talking about? Now, yes, the Lions is coming up. They got talent. The defense line is playing better. The offensive line, I get all of that. All right, I get it. I hear y'all. They look pretty. They look like a shiny toy. They beat Kansas City. Everybody think no. When you're talking about the big boys of the Philadelphia Eagles, clear, and the 49ers, we just too good offensive line, defensive line. Like, as good as their offensive line, defensive line is, our offensive line, defensive line is much better than theirs. We talking about from a line perspective, I don't think there's not a team in the league that got more talent than the Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. Offensive line, defensive line combined. That's the two most talented teams in the league, in my personal opinion. So the Detroit won't match up with that. When they play each other, they'll get bullied. Okay? They'll get smacked around. It'll be big brother versus little brother. They not on the same level. Don't do that yet. The NFC is weak with just two. Well, Dallas maybe. We don't know about that. But just really two major teams. The NFC is trash. No disrespect. So the Lions is just better than the rest of this garbage out here. Green Bay is garbage. Minnesota's trash. These are whack teams. So stop this. This is not teams that looking like they can win championships. So to say that the Lions is on that level is laughable in my personal opinion. Just from a talent perspective, a scheme perspective, a coach perspective. And, oh, by the way, these are the two teams that make the conference championships. Okay, so let's be fair and clear. It's not there. Philadelphia Eagles is the number one team, though. Let's go there real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Cousin real quickly here, man.
No.
I got to disagree with Cousin.
Don't do it, baby.
Look, when you talk about the Lions, and I ain't lying, and I ain't lying.
Baby, help us out, God.
When you talk about the Lions, right, and I ain't lying, they are good, clearly. And you talk about the Lions, you talk about the Eagles, you talk about the Niners. What do those teams have in common? They're good in the trenches, and they can win games in the trenches. Now, you just falsified a statement there, kind of. Maybe you didn't realize it. I don't think you did it on purpose. But you said that their offensive line, you kind of said offensive and defensive line. Now, defensive line is another conversation because I agree with you there. But offensive line, they're not too far back from the Eagles. They have one of the best offensive lines in the game. Now, the Eagles may be number one. The Eagles may be number one.
Cousin, real quick. I meant to say that. I meant to say, but combined, offensive line and defensive in the trenches, offensively and defensively, they can't match up. Clear.
If you combining that, right, then fine.
My bad.
But offensive line, they right up there. They top three. Offensive line.
My bad.
And because of that offensive line, it's all good. Because of that offensive line, they're able to block and open up lanes. And you talk about the creative run designs by Ben Johnson to open up the play action to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then they're getting another explosive guy back in Jameson Williams in a couple weeks as well. And Jahmyr Gibbs, who they drafted with the number 12 pick, who we all know is explosive. They haven't even used him. Right. Like they literally don't use him in the red zone. Right. David Montgomery got 32 carries, right? Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot of carries right there. 3 touchdowns on the day. So they're adding some explosive pieces back. Jameson Williams is going to give this wide receiver unit the explosion on the outside that they need, along with how Ben Johnson uses Jahmyr Gibbs going forward, giving them another explosive element to this offense. And Jared Goff, although the last couple games he threw an interception in all 3 games, he's bounced back. And he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, and the Eagles don't even look unbeatable like they did last year on top of that. No. So it's not like
the funny part, but that's the funny part. The funny part is we know we got a lot of room for growth, and everybody knows they waiting for the click. Clearly, we got a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. We got to get on the same page. This is the duration of a season. This is what it takes. So as we not playing our number one football, clearly everybody know we got the talent to do so. We still winning games.
I'm gonna pull up the Lions schedule, right? Because there's a lot of ways you could look at it. I don't even think the Lions played their best football yet, to be honest with you. Because look at the Lions schedule, and I'm gonna tell you why this matters, right? Because schedule matters. Eye test and schedule, they matter.
Right.
They play the Lions. They are the Lions. They don't play each other. They play the Panthers next, who are 0-3 at home. They are. Right, they play the Buccaneers and they play the Ravens. The next 2 games they could win and potentially go up 5-1. Their record could be 5-1. Why is that important? When you're talking about closing the gap, securing your division, and securing a bye. So when you talk about how they can potentially get the number 1 or 2 seed, if the playoffs got to go through Detroit, where it's really, really hard to play, then I'm definitely giving them a shot to win, because we're talking about Detroit here and they play better at home. Jared Goff just has this way about him at home where he's throwing up 300 yards and 200 yards plus. So yeah, I think they have the game in the trenches. They dominated the Packers last night in the trenches. The Packers had no shot. Okay, and when they did try to call back in the game, the Lions was able to run the football and keep them at bay as Cuzzo was coming back to the show. Cuzzo, I don't know if you lost my last point when you got cut off there.
I did.
I
I'm
understand
sorry.
we live in a virtual world. But what I was saying was, when you look at their next 2 games, they should win both of those games, and they should go up 5-1. Yeah, they play. Yeah, the Lions. They play the Panthers and the Buccaneers. They should win both of those games, right, and go up 5-1. And that's important because when you talk about home field advantage,
right,
they can literally win this division and have this division won by December, early December, or maybe Thanksgiving, and they could have a bye where you have to go through Detroit, where they are tougher to play at home than on the road. Jared Goff is definitely better at home. So that's why I think they should be up there. The question is, can they challenge? That's another thing too. We're not saying can they win, can they challenge the Philly, right? If you told me today, who's the 2 best teams in the NFC, I'm going to say 49ers number 1, and I might go ahead and say the Eagles number 2. But can they challenge Philly and 49ers? Sure, they can. Why? Because they're good in the trenches. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that.
Okay.
The language, can the Lions challenge the 49ers and Eagles in the NFC? That's the main thing. The challenge, that's the word. I think the Lions can challenge the 49ers and Eagles. Winning would be them playing against KC game week 1. That would be what the Lions would have to do in terms of winning the game, keeping the offense off the field for the 49ers and Eagles as long as possible. Keep on going on, great first downs, great second downs, go into third and manageable. And that's the way the Lions win. But if you get a Lions team who played against Seattle, giving up a lot of points, that's where you get yourself in trouble. Because once you let Jalen Hurts get going and get comfortable, you see what the Eagles are able to do on offense. They're able to just explode for points, especially the way DeAndre Swift is able to move. Now, I'm on record in saying that I feel like the Eagles took a step back from last year in terms of explosion. It hasn't been the same. I've seen that. I'm not sure it's just a slow start, new coordinator, they're trying to figure it all out. But we've seen it's not the same explosion from last season. Yeah. But also, and then the 49ers. The 49ers, I don't think they've had a chink in their armor yet. I haven't seen it. But that's a team that, it's an up and down season, it's a roller coaster season. So we'll see. But I think the Lions can challenge anyone in the NFC just based on grit, just based on being able to play in the trenches. So the games are over there, always be within reach of a game just because they're playing at 100%, for just pedal to the metal kind of game. David Montgomery had a crazy game yesterday. They said he had 5 touchdowns all last season. He has 5 touchdowns currently in the league. And it makes you question a little bit, which is probably like a subtopic really, on why the hell they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs and not play him. If the cat is just going to be sitting on a bench or just being like a wideout, not even being utilized to the max of his potential. I understand that they know how gifted he is, but that doesn't mean teams will game plan for him if they know he's not getting the ball. Nobody is just game planning for Jahmyr Gibbs primarily on a defense. That's not what their game plans are looking at.
I actually think that's a good thing, Zay, because if the plot is to unleash him throughout the duration of the season, then defenses are not going to see it coming. So maybe it's Ben Johnson saying, you know what? We got this weapon, and I'm just going to ease him in there. He's a rookie. It's 4 games. David Montgomery's doing the gritty work. He's getting his yards. He's getting his touchdowns. We are going to save him and then cut him loose, especially when Jameson Williams comes back. Now you're talking about a more explosive offense. That's why when you talk about Philly and you say, well, yeah, they lost their coordinators. They're not going to look as good. They're going to get better. I agree. But the Lions are going to get better because they're getting the receiver back who they drafted with a high pick. They're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs more. And one more thing, Cuzzo. If Mac Jones could throw for 300 yards on y'all, and Kirk Cousins could throw for 300 yards in prime time, then Jared Goff could do the same thing, respectfully.
Okay, now let's break it down real quick. This is the reason why this is laughable. And I say laughable because, see, football is complex, right? That's because, let's say if somebody beat a team 31-10. No, they blew them out. And then somebody also beat a team 31-27. A win is a win, and they still could be just as dominant. That's how football works. But here's the reason why the Eagles or San Fran would dominate the Lions. It have all to do with their running game. You talking about keeping us off the field? We'll keep them off the field all day. We'll run a 9-minute drive on them all day. The defensive line is not that good. Okay, the running game of the Philadelphia Eagles and the running game of the San Francisco 49ers will keep Jared Goff on his butt. And they will do it. And the Eagles is the funniest team. They'll try to pass the game early and be like, you know what, let's stop this madness. If we really want to beat this team right now, let's run the ball all game and win. And they do that every single time. They'll try some trick plays, and then end of the game, shut this game down because we're more talented from the offensive line perspective compared to Detroit's defensive line. Now, you can say Detroit got a great offensive line, but our defensive line is so potent, it won't look that different. It'll be a battle. It won't be a battle, our offensive line versus the defense line. That's not a battle. They will get ran over.
The way how you answering this question, you're answering this question as if the rules are reversed. We are saying, can they challenge Philly? We are saying, can they challenge the 49ers? And they can, because they have the things that you're talking about that you're trying to compare with these other teams and saying, well, this team is a little bit better. Yeah, but offensive line wise, they can move people. Right. They can move the rookie Jalen Carter. They can move people.
Jalen Carter, serious. But the problem with Detroit is defensively. See, offensively, they're super dynamic. And I respect that. But see, when you come down to defensively, they're going to get ransacked by the Philadelphia Eagles and San Fran any way they want to do it. With the Eagles, you might say somebody can throw on us, but they ain't running on us, guaranteed. They're not doing that. So the run game will be shut down. We number one against the run right now. Okay? Clearly ain't getting better. They ain't running on us. So we can make them one-dimensional. We can make teams one-dimensional. And if you say Kirk Cousins put up 300 yards, Mac Jones put up 300 yards, I laughed at that. You know why? Because when it came down to the end of those games, all we did was ran the ball down Minnesota throat. They couldn't stop it. All we did was ran the ball down New England. We the number one rushing team in the NFL. All we did was ran the ball down their throat, and they couldn't stop. We could pick what we did to Tampa Bay the last game. A 9-minute drive to end the game. To end this. Let's just run.
And what did the Lions do, Cuzzo? How did how did they win the game against the Chiefs? They ran the ball. They limited Mahomes' possession.
Do you think they're going to be able to run the ball versus San Fran and the Eagles? See, that's the difference. You keep saying with their offense, I'm telling you, we have a different defensive line than they have. We'll be able to run easy on them than they can run on us. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a different dynamic. If their defensive line was potent, I would be like, yo, if it was San Fran you're talking about, yeah, we can't run the ball like that on San Fran. Why? They got actually a good defensive line. Detroit
and that's fair. That. And that's fair and all that, right? But I'm saying, which division is easier out of all three teams here?
Their division. They can have
the North.
Listen, no
right?
disrespect. They can have the best record in the NFL, and I feel San Fran or the Eagles will go into Detroit and smack them in the mouth with hard-nosed football.
It's going to be definitely harder to go on the road and beat them, and that's what I'm saying. If the Lions have to pass the ball to win, I still trust them because Jared Goff is playing with a chip on his shoulder. There was nobody, and there's nobody with a nobody with a more chip on his shoulder than Jared Goff right now. Okay, this guy's career was left for dead, literally. Okay, they sent him over to Detroit to rock, and he rose, and he's playing with a chip. So even though he throws an interception or two, he only threw, he had a long streak without throwing an interception prior to the last 3 games. I get it, but he bounced back, and he's showing that he can win through the air. So he could throw 30 times and still win. So let's say y'all stop the running game. It's not only about the running game, clearly, it's about the passing game as well. I think Detroit could hold up passing the football against the 49ers, even though the 49ers have a stout defense. It's not about who's the favorite. It's about who can challenge. And right now, the Lions can challenge. And I think we need to acknowledge that they are a challenge to the Eagles and the 49ers.
Okay. We'll see how laughable that will be. Well, I can't wait for that to end.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be a challenge. I guess the winning. It's.
I mean, but if the 49ers win, it's not like, oh, I told you so. Like I ain't say they was gonna win. I said they could challenge. If it's close, then yeah, I'm right. If it's like a close game,
I don't necessarily agree with that. Right? See, a challenge to me is a threat to win. That's a challenge.
And I think
keeping it close don't mean absolutely nothing to me. right? Keeping it close don't mean nothing to me because I just explained 31-10, 31-27. It's a W. Keeping it close in football don't mean nothing to me. If the Lions got a threat to win this game, I don't think so.
I think they have a threat. You know why? Because to me, and this may be a hot take, I'm actually trying to think on the fly while
Hit me with it,
I hit the pavement with this take. I think Ben Johnson might just be, and I'm not talking about coach coordinator, because I think Andy Reid is still the best, like as far as being a coach and calling plays, and Kyle Shanahan is a coach calling plays. He might be the best as well. But strictly offensive coordinator, I think Ben Johnson may be number one based on what I've seen. When you talk about one play in particular, right? And yeah, what does one play have to do with anything? I mean, if you've been watching football, you know that it's more than one play, but I just want to focus on this one play with Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was a touchdown play. You know, he was wide open. So to the average viewer, you're like, oh my God, why is he open like that? It's a busted coverage. Yeah, it kind of was a busted coverage, but it was the way how that was set up. Like Ben Johnson knew that the defense was going to be aggressive. And he was able to wrinkle something in there to get him open, to free him open, to get that wide open touchdown. There's little nuances and X's and O's like that. That's why I trust him. As long as he doesn't have the game that he had against Kansas City, which was a big high-profile game that did worry me a little bit, but he bounced back. If he can do what he's been doing, the creative designs on offense, then they will always find ways to move the ball, whether it's through the air, whether it's the running game getting shut down, whatever. They will always find ways to score. So that's why I'm saying, with the combination of the experience that Jared Goff has, credit, Jalen Hurts played in the Super Bowl last year, looked very good in that game, but Jared Goff played in the Super Bowl as well. He played in the playoffs. He went to Drew Brees' house and beat Drew Brees a couple years ago. Let's not forget about that. You asked me which was Jared Goff's best game. It was the one where he went to Drew Brees' house and put 34 up on these cats. Okay, and I didn't think he was able to do that. And it was in the fourth quarter. He led a touchdown drive and the overtime drive to win the game against New Orleans. And that's a Hall of Fame quarterback. All right. So I trust in Jared Goff's experience. I trust in Ben Johnson's play calling, and I trust in their ability to move the defenders on the O-line to be able to win the game. If you want to say defense is a little bit suspect, yes, I like what I saw yesterday. But before that, the Seahawks is iffy. I still think they can challenge and they can be a threat to these teams that we're talking about right now.
I guess. I don't see. But go ahead.
All right, Zay, we done? Any last words? Or we off to halftime?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to the 49ers and Eagles playing the Lions. I'm more excited more than ever. But
we're going to get our answers pretty soon.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.